Randell Clifford means, born January 3rd, 1985. Um, I was born 3:33 a.m. January 3rd. Raised Baptist through my young adult childhood, extreme like Southern Baptist in Detroit, and then when I went to high school, I went to one of the premier Catholic high schools in the state, Detroit Catholic Central. So I studied Catholicism vigorously, and also studied French and Latin. My French language, my freshman and sophomore year, Latin language, my junior and senior year. That being said, I was in the Cub Scouts, in the Boy Scouts. Mr. Ingram was my Cub Scout leader, as well as my first sport I ever played was actually softball, then baseball, hardball. And Mr. Ingram was my coach. Derek Ingram was his son, was my close friend growing up. Then started playing basketball. Would go to the YMCA on Lasher and 7 Mile Road. Met a lot of good friends up there through the summer camps. Used to go to Perry Watson UAD summer camps for basketball in Detroit. Perry Watson was a historical coach at UAD College, UAD Mercy. I didn't play football until I was 11 years old for the Detroit Panthers, the first PAL football organization in Detroit PAL League by Mr. James Woolley. The irony of that whole situation, Coach Lewis was my coach. I played 2 years for the B team. When it came time to the A team, I felt Mr. Woolley was a little too strict, so I went to the Rams down on Evergreen Road, like down by, I don't know, Grand River or something, and played for the Rams my second to last year. Led them to the semifinals against the Cubs. The receiver I played against, I had an interception that game too. We could have went to the PAL championship, but we lost. But I had an interception that game. I was number one for the Rams. But the receiver ended up playing at Cass Tech. I went to Catholic Central. I won 2 state championships. I think he won a city championship at Cass Tech at that time period when we were seniors. But Coach Woolley, the irony of him, which was a blessing, he was also worked for Ford Corporation his entire life, and also became the youth leader for their youth program for Ford Corporation. Well, I went to many elementaries and middle schools. I was bad growing up, beating up kids growing up. I was smaller, but I first got bullied. Then I became somewhat of a bully. Went to McKinney Elementary 3 years. Every time I got kicked out from first grade to third grade, my parents would put me in St. Timothy Baptist or Lutheran private school on Evergreen Road on Pembroke. But then when I would act good, because they'd put me in a class and I'd be in a class all day. All you get was your lunch break. You're sitting at that desk, and it was no joke. So good food for lunch, though. Good food for lunch. And I'll get my act together, then go back to school, to public school, and act the fool again. Then third grade, McKinney finally kicked me out, and I couldn't come back. It was a certain reason. I'm not going to talk about that. So then I went to pitcher for a year or two, I don't know. And then I went to Taft Middle School, Coach Jane, track coach, got coach. I can't think of his name right now. I do apologize. But I ran track for AAU. Good old Braylon Edwards was older than me, but he ran for maximum output. Well, I ran track for AAU, so I didn't get to run against him, but he was fast as hell. He ended up playing at University of Michigan, then went pro. Gabriel Watson was my teammate at Taft Middle School. He played for U of M, and also played in the Super Bowl in Detroit when the Pittsburgh Steelers played the Arizona Cardinals at Ford Field. He's been close friends since then. I transferred to Ludington my 8th grade year, and the irony of it is Coach Woolley was kind of like a social worker at Ludington and got me in my 8th grade year. My grades were still good all through my years. I still had good grades, but finished 8th grade at Ludington Middle School, and I wanted to go to Cass Tech, but recommendations from Brian Cheney and whoever sent them say, hey, think about Catholic Central, and I made that decision, and it was a blessing ever since.